How's it going, y'all? This is McFrostyBoy, and today we're going to be working on our mentality, talking about some of the topics there, and generally just trying to build like a good, healthy way to think about and continue to improve at the game. As we improve mechanically and strategically, we also want to make sure that we are improving in terms of how we deal with the situations within the game emotionally. And so today's video about these topics, on mentality, is specifically it's a warning that things do not get easier. So this is particularly in reference to, I think, a lot of players that are decent at the game, but just don't play ranked or whatever. They'll drop into ranked for the first time, and they'll just absolutely rip through bronze lobbies because bronze level players are at a certain level, and then they'll tear through probably silver lobbies also, and then they go through gold, and maybe that's sort of where they find that that's where their skill level is, maybe not, and then they get to platinum, and I think platinum is for a lot of players their first glass ceiling, so to speak. I think there's very few players that just right off the bat are above that without prior experience in other FPSs. And so, for a lot of players, they hit that platform wall, and it's very unpleasant because all up until then, they've been dropping pretty solid games, doing solid damage, getting a decent amount of kills, and yeah, maybe they're not winning consistently or anything like that, but they're definitely making forward progress always with their ranking. And then all of a sudden you hit your first wall, and maybe it's not platform, maybe it's somewhere in the realm of silver, right, or gold, where your wall is whatever it is, right, you hit your first wall, and it's it's not fun. Right, because all up until then, it's felt like you're making forward progress, and things are coming, and you felt you're learning and growing, and then all of a sudden, that just goes away. And I think some players sort of hold out, hoping that it goes back to being easy like that. They see the pros, and they watch how they just absolutely destroy and wreck just almost anyone they come across. And they wonder, it's does it become like that for me, right? Is that something that's going to happen for me? And I think the reality is no, it does not. For a lot of players, that is not what is going to happen. The reason why is because when you hit that wall, that's that wall you've hit, that's where you're finally meeting players who are of comparable skill level to you. And then every single step of progress that you seek to make beyond that is actual genuine improvement. Up until that point, you really haven't been pushed to improve. Up until that point, you've basically just been doing things the way you've always been doing them, without really being challenged or forced to grow or learn. And, maybe you've learned some stuff along the way, but in general, you're basically, before you hit that wall, the same player you were, when you first started kind of trying to play and progress. You haven't been pushed to make any forward progress. You haven't been forced to correct any of your weaknesses or figure out what parts of the game you're actually strong at and that you should try and play into. You're just sort of generic FPS player at that point that maybe has somewhat decent mechanical skill, or at least understands how the game works and how to move your character around or whatever, right? Then you hit that wall, right? And every single step of progress beyond that, where you're grinding against that wall, and it's tough, and there are frustrating days, and then there are days where it feels like you make forward progress, and then there are days where it feels like you just take 3 steps back. That is the improvement. That's the part where you're growing. That's what it feels like, right? Is it always is going to feel on some level a little frustrating. It's always going to be challenging because you're really being pushed to the very limits of what you can and can't do, right? That's what you seek from a player, an opponent of equal skill level. Hopefully, it is to actually be challenged, right? You're not when you play ranked. I think some players may play it because they think, oh, it's it's this is the more serious mode, so it's anything cool that I do is a bigger deal or whatever, right? And sort of true, but I think the more important thing is you're really looking for a challenge. You're looking to face players of equal skill level. And so I think like eventually, you know, you push and you shove, and then like finally something clicks. Finally, you make it like through that, like whatever that first wall for you is, like whether it's like gold or you know, plat or silver or diamond or whatever it is, right? Like you figure it out. You figure out some of the stuff that it required, like that you needed to like address and fix, and you start to make a little bit of forward progress again, right? And then it drops off, and that's just gonna keep happening. And that's just gonna be like the cycle is. You're going to like, you know, make a little bit of forward progress, and then you're gonna hit a wall again, and then you're gonna make a little forward progress, and you're gonna hit a wall again, and like that's just. If you're serious about improving, that's like what your experience is going to be. It's always going to be difficult. It's always going to be a challenge, because as soon as you improve, right, like then your ranking is going to increase, and then you're going to start to encounter other players who have earned that ranking, you know, rightfully so, and are of comparable skill once more. And then you're going to have to learn how to beat them, right? Like how to beat other players that are of like your current skill level. And then you're going to improve and you'll advance. And it's just going to keep going back and forth like that. And so I think, you know, like that sensation of like where it's just like easy and it felt like, you know, you just got to win because, you know, you're just better. Right? Like that sensation, like kind of like, I feel like just becomes like a lot less common. A lot less common. And so I think like playing from a place that like expects or like looks for that is dangerous. Which is like, hence like why I'm making this warning, because it's like, it's just not something that's going to happen. It's not like realistic to expect that experience to be something you find within the game. I guess, like warning and I guess point of advice for those of you that like have hit your wall and like are sort of like waffling between like, you know, do I stick it out or do I just hop over, like switch games and like hope to find like, you know, the next bunch of casuals and then kind of just like body them, and then once like the ELO for like my matchmaking adjusts and it starts to be hard again, I'll just switch to another game. Like those of you that are like waffling between that and like have like genuine intentions to improve, like I honestly think like you should stick it out. That yes, it's unpleasant, and it's gonna keep being unpleasant, and I just like want to be real with you guys, but it's worth it. I honestly think it's worth it, because every single inch of progress you make, like eventually you get to a point where you can look back and you can see the player you were before, and I think that is a really great moment. Like you can like look back and every inch of progress you made, you earned. Hopefully that like helps someone. I mean, I guess it was a problem that I wrestled with, definitely at like some point in my Apex career. I'm not saying like I'm totally past it. You know, there are definitely days like where I get frustrated and I question like, you know, can I continue to make forward progress at all or anything like that? And like you know, you just like can't give into that. The truth is, it's like, you know, maybe that day is difficult, but you know, just because like a single day is difficult does not mean every single day is going to be difficult.